You ever look in the mirror and think, how can someone who holds it all together so well feel this empty inside? You show up, you perform, you smile, but inside, you're tired. Not just tired, but soul-deep exhausted. Not lazy, not depressed in the classic sense, just done. And the worst part? No one sees it, because on the outside, you look like the strongest person in the room. Let's say it out loud. Looking strong doesn't mean you're okay. In fact, the people who carry everyone else, the caretakers, the people pleasers, the ones who never ask for help, those are often the ones battling the heaviest emotional exhaustion. From childhood trauma to nervous system overload, from hypervigilance to compassion fatigue, this isn't just being a little burnt out. This is survival mode disguised as success, and it's slowly killing your joy. But here's the twist most people never hear. It's not your fault. Your body and brain are doing exactly what they were wired to do after years of trauma and constant pressure. Feeling numb, emotionally hollow, tired of life but not suicidal, that's not weakness. It's a signal, a red flag waving from your nervous system saying, I can't keep this up. The good news? Once you understand what's really going on underneath, you can finally start healing, not just coping, but truly healing. The hidden cost of always being the strong one. There's a strange irony in being the strong one, isn't there? The person everyone counts on often has no one to count on themselves. They're praised for their resilience, but no one asks what it's costing them internally. Over time, that constant pressure turns into emotional burnout, where you're physically present, but emotionally checked out. You might even catch yourself asking, why am I so tired of life? And feel guilty for it, because on the surface, your life looks fine. But what people don't see is the inner war, the overthinking that won't shut off, the survival mode that never seems to end, the weight of always being on. This isn't just stress, it's nervous system overload. You might feel hollow inside or numb, not because you're broken, but because your body has learned to shut down emotionally to survive. It's a trauma response, not a personality flaw. It's what happens when childhood trauma or complex trauma taught you to be strong instead of safe. Practical example? Think of the friend who always shows up for others, never complains, never cries in public, but crashes alone at night with spiritual burnout or silent panic attacks. Maybe that's been you. You're not weak, you're just running on emotional fumes. Your strength has kept others afloat, but your own inner child has been neglected. And here's the thing. Being the strong one is a role, not an identity. But shedding that role, that's where the real healing begins. Trauma doesn't always look like trauma. When people hear trauma, they often think of one big dramatic event. But the truth? Trauma isn't always loud. Sometimes it's subtle. It's growing up in a home where you had to walk on eggshells. It's never feeling safe enough to express your feelings. It's being the kid who had to become the adult way too early. This kind of attachment trauma doesn't leave bruises, but it leaves emotional scars that follow you into adulthood. And those scars show up in quiet but powerful ways, like the person who can't say no without guilt, or who feels responsible for everyone's happiness. That's not just being kind. That's complex trauma playing out through people-pleasing and self-abandonment. You might even feel like you're constantly scanning your environment for danger, approval, or rejection. That's not just anxiety. It's hypervigilance, a classic sign of your nervous system staying stuck in survival mode. Let's make this practical. If you freeze when someone gets angry, or if you can't relax even on your day off, that's your body trying to protect you from threats that no longer exist. That's PTSD or even CPTSD talking. It's why you might feel emotionally exhausted even when nothing bad is happening. Understanding this is the first step in nervous system regulation. And here's the powerful truth. You can't heal what you think is just your personality when it's actually unprocessed trauma. When empathy becomes a burden. High empathy is a beautiful trait until it starts draining the life out of you. If you're a highly sensitive person, HSP, or someone with high empathy, you probably absorb emotions like a sponge. You walk into a room and instantly feel the tension, even if no one says a word. You take on people's pain as if it's your own. Over time, this leads to something called compassion fatigue, the quiet burnout that hits people who feel too much, too often. Think about how often you've said, "I'm fine," just to avoid burdening someone else, or how you've pushed through your own emotional exhaustion because someone else needed you. That's spiritual burnout. That's emotional caregiving disguised as strength. And it's dangerous because it teaches you to ignore your own limits. You become the emotional dump truck for others, while your own tank stays empty. Feeling tired of life doesn't always mean you want to quit. It just means your soul needs rest. Here's a small shift you can try. Next time you feel emotionally overwhelmed, ask yourself, is this mine to carry? Keep a journal. Write down what you're feeling and whose emotion it might be. Sounds simple, but it builds the muscle of self-awareness. You'll start to see just how much of your emotional exhaustion isn't even yours. And when you start creating boundaries around your empathy, something interesting happens. The guilt of slowing down. There's this unspoken rule among the strong ones. You're allowed to break, but only in private, and only if you get back up quickly. That pressure to keep going, to never stop, creates a toxic cycle. Tired, but can't stop. You might recognize it as productivity guilt, feeling worthless when you're not doing something useful. But underneath it, that's often childhood trauma talking. Somewhere along the line, your worth got tied to your performance. Maybe you were the fixer in your family, the caretaker, the one who made everything okay. Now as an adult, still carrying that weight, rest feels unfamiliar, unsafe even. Slowing down brings up anxiety, maybe even shame. And so, you keep going. But what looks like strength is often someone in survival mode, terrified that stopping means losing everything. That's the mental loop behind the thought, why am I so tired of life? You've been running on empty for too long. Want something actionable? Try building tiny windows of nervous system regulation into your day. Not a 3-hour spa day, just 3 minutes of deep breathing, or putting your hand over your heart and reminding yourself, I'm safe now. Let it reframe how you see rest, not as laziness, but as emotional healing. Because once you stop running, you start hearing what your soul's been whispering all along. Rediscovering self-compassion and inner worth. When you've spent your whole life being strong for everyone else, it can feel almost foreign to turn that compassion inward. But here's the truth most people never hear. Healing starts when you stop trying to prove your worth. You weren't put on this earth just to be useful or dependable. Your value isn't in how much you do for others. It's in who you are. That hollow feeling inside, that's your soul asking for self-compassion, for care, for space to just be. This is where the healing journey gets real. It's not always about therapy appointments and deep journaling sessions. Those help. Sometimes it starts by doing something radical, believing you're allowed to need help, that you're not weak for seeking support, that you can have faith and still struggle with mental health. If you're a Christian dealing with Christian mental health challenges, this is especially tricky because many have been taught that struggle equals lack of faith. But Jesus wept too. You're not broken. You're a human who has endured a lot. You've survived trauma, attachment wounds, burnout symptoms, all while looking strong on the outside. But you don't have to stay in that role. You can heal. You can reconnect with your inner child, learn self-worth that's not built on performance, and find peace that doesn't depend on productivity. The moment you start believing this, everything begins to shift. So here's the question. No one ever asks the strong ones. What would your life look like if you stopped surviving and started healing? If you stopped pretending you're fine, stopped numbing out, stopped carrying the emotional weight of the world without ever setting it down? What if you gave yourself the same grace you so freely give to everyone else? You're not crazy, you're not lazy, and no, you're not alone. You're a highly sensitive soul navigating a world that often rewards emotional shutdown. You've lived through complex trauma, been stuck in survival mode, worn the mask of strength so long that even you forgot what lies beneath. But now that you know the truth, that your exhaustion has roots, that your burnout has a name, what will you do with it? Will you keep pushing until you break, or will you choose something better? If this video helped you see yourself a little clearer, if it gave you language for things you've felt for years, then don't walk away the same. Start small, set a boundary, take a breath, say a prayer, journal, rest. And if you want to keep growing in this healing journey with others who get it, subscribe to the channel, tap the notification bell, and join a space where your healing finally matters. Your story isn't over, It's just beginning.